There are moments that split a life in two, before and after. The day before your life changes forever, and the day that follows. You will never walk again. Those words were said to Taya Parker after a hiking accident. So, in today's episode, we discuss the journey Taya has had to go through as her body heals. This episode is about defying the odds, but it's also about what it means to rebuild when everything has fallen apart. Because sometimes the story doesn't end where people think it will. Sometimes there's another side. This is The Other Side, Light and Darkness. All right, so this is The Other Side, Light and Darkness. My name is Jacob, your host, and we're here today with two wonderful guests.
Taya Parker, she, they, and this is Calliope, she, her.
Awesome. For those who don't know, Taya was actually the first person I had thought up when creating this series, so this feels like a very full circle moment. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
And
I
thank you for
adore
having
you.
me.
Of course.
I'm so excited.
This means a lot that you're actually doing this. And I know this might be a little tricky to talk about here and there, but just let me know if you ever need a break or if you want to skip over a couple things, and that's
All right.
real. All right. Can you give the audience some context to the reasoning why you're here?
So in May in 2023, I experienced a severe traumatic injury. I fell off of a cliff and I was left paralyzed. I broke the majority of my body and I had to completely relearn how to function. And I spent about a full year between the hospital and physical rehabs for traumatic injuries. I returned home in April of 2024, and since then I've been in active recovery, physically improving as I go, and yeah, just trying my best to live a full life after everything that happened.
It's almost like a second chance
Yeah.
that you have had. And so it's been almost 3 years since that incident. It's kind of wild, isn't it? I remember
It's
hearing
wild
about
to
it.
think about, yeah.
Wow, because I remember hearing about it because we frequent a certain venue, and just hearing like Taya had an accident. I remember where I was in that moment, and I just thought, oh no. So I just want you to know you are celebrated in rooms you're not in. You're loved in rooms that you're not in. So
Thank
start that. You got it. So, but before we get into the nitty and gritty, can you tell me a little bit about life before the fall, who you were, what your days looked like, and what brought you the most joy?
So before the fall, I was a workaholic. Like, I was working several jobs and volunteering. So I was physically very exhausted. But yeah, I was working 4 12-hour shifts a week on top of substitute teaching, on top of babysitting, on top of dog sitting. And then I was on the Poet Laureate Committee, and I was a board member of Oneida County Pride Alliance. So I was a busy
Busy,
bee.
as I was gonna say, very busy.
But I will say, amongst all that busyness, it was definitely draining me to a point where I wasn't actually sure, even in the space that we met, that I was someone who belonged, that I was appreciated and valued. So to hear you say explicitly that I was valued in that space and that you remember it, um, that it means so much to me that you don't even realize.
Oh, I'm
Because
glad.
yeah, like before I fell, I just wasn't feeling very fulfilled in any of those things. I was in the process of trying to figure out what I wanted to even pour my energy into. So what brought me joy the most back then was honestly going out and doing things, like going out and being in nature.
Being in nature, which we're gonna
Yeah.
lead into that. That's
So
ironic.
yeah, well, that's kind of how we got here.
Yeah, that's how we got here.
So like something that I gravitated towards, especially when I was not doing well, um, was just sitting by a nice stream or in nature somewhere. I have a bunch of favorite places that I would go, like Root Glen and the Erie Canalway Trail, which is where I fell. And I loved concerts, still do. I loved performing my poetry, still do. That's where I met you.
Can you share what you're comfortable with about the day of the fall?
Yes. So I was actually, I think about this a lot. I was actually supposed to work overtime, a night shift that night, but I had already worked four consecutive 12-hour shifts that week, and I was just not in a good headspace. I was extremely upset about a lot of things in my life. And I had a friend over, and things just got very heated between me and my friends, and I was like, sorry.
Okay, let me know if you need a break. I'm serious.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. I just it takes me a minute to kind of like ground myself in reality while I actually relive in that, you know? Because I don't want to get upset too early into the interview, you know?
I'll do it for the
Like,
views.
I know a lot of people speculate and ask a lot of the time if it was an on purpose kind of thing. And I'll get to that. But admittedly, I was very suicidal, and I was talking to two close friends at the time about how I was feeling. And one of these friends suggested that we call the police because of certain things that I was saying, but that was not the solution at the time. Being involuntarily hospitalized is a very traumatic experience that I did not want to deal with. Like I wanted and I needed peace, and I didn't know how else to explain that or like get that, because when you're upset like that, people are like quick to just kind of, you know, quick solution, you know?
Yeah.
And
It's never a quick fix.
it's never
It's
a quick
always
fix.
an endless journey.
Yes, like people, I think it's hard because when someone is in that state, it's natural to want to remedy it in a way that is the safest and most mindful of the like severity. I think at the time I just felt so overwhelmed, and I was grasping at straws trying to like find peace. I was like, I need to go for a walk. I need to get away. So I just kind of got in my car and started driving. And at first I didn't really have a destination that I was going. I just was like, I need to get away. I need to be alone. I need to not like have anybody else like in my space right now. And I ended up going to the Erie Canalway Trail in Little Falls because it's a place that I had gone fairly recently, and it's just a place that I like to go. It's another like one of my top places that I gravitated towards. I remember being very frantic and just trying to walk it out, like trying to, I was like fucking like I was basically like sprinting because I was trying to just get all of that like chaotic energy out of me. um so there's, when you go to this trail, there's two parallel cliffs, and there's a carved out trail, like a concrete trail, and some foliage on both sides. And on the right side, there's a trail behind that cliff that is very easily accessible to kind of gradually climb up the backside of it. So I like I'm trying to make this as clear as possible, because I know a lot of people, when I explain it, they're like, "Oh my god, how? Like, were you rock climbing?" Because there is actually rock climbing right across from there. It's called Moss Island.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I wasn't at Moss Island. I was right across from it. And so there's like a way that you can kind of like almost step up on like large rocks in it. So I wasn't scaling it. I wasn't rock climbing without a harness. I was taking a trail that I had taken before, and even have pictures of me sitting on that same cliff years prior. But I kind of climbed a little bit farther than I was used to. So I was at the top. I will admit I thought about jumping. I sat there crying, texting people, trying to calm down, taking deep breaths, just grasping at any semblance of peace that I could find in that moment. And I just sat there for a while. I don't know how long a while even was. But when I finally like had calmed down enough to like be like, what am I doing? You know, like what am
Yeah.
I even fucking doing? Uh I was trying to climb back up from that ledge to like go back down the trail, but it's a lot harder climbing down than it is
Yeah.
climbing up. Because when you're climbing up, you're not like stepping, like trying to, like you're stepping up, but you can also like easily step down, you know, if that makes sense. But I was trying to get from that ledge to where I could go down the path, but it was raining earlier that day. It wasn't raining at the time, but it had been a bit slippery. So before I even knew it, I don't even remember like it happened so fast. And I don't even remember the actual like fall itself, like the feeling, you know, like I feel like people would assume that that's the most I would remember, because like people have dreams about falling and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but I don't remember the sensation of falling. I remember the sensation of hitting the ground. And to describe the sensation, for any weed smokers out there, it's like greening out and having a fucking migraine in your whole entire body.
Oh my.
Like it's like that kind of pulsating migraine feeling, but like
Wow.
kind of pulsating throughout my whole body. I kind of landed on this arm. This is where I had the scar, because I broke this arm, you know, breaking the fall. And I remember like being so stunned, but also confused. Like, but I had all of that adrenaline, so I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel pain other than the like pulsating feeling. And I used my left arm to kind of like push myself onto my back,
Yeah.
but my from my sternum down, I was already paralyzed.
Wow.
But I like it was a weird feeling. Like it felt like being chopped in half. Like I could pinch myself and I couldn't feel anything, and it was like my skin and my muscles felt like, I don't know, like they were melted or something, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I this is a flashback that I have a lot when I'm just randomly having flashbacks. I remember holding so tightly onto a plant that I fell on. Like the stem of the plant, I was holding on for dear life. And it brought me comfort in that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a good, I want to say half hour went by, and people were just walking down the path, and I had been screaming for help, just kind of raspy voice screaming for help. And the people who found me were kind of rude. I'll say that.
How were they rude?
They stood so far away from me. I remember like thinking to myself, like this is the least comforting they could possibly be in this moment. Like I really needed help. I was screaming and pleading for help, and these people were just kind of like, yeah.
Did they come running over to you?
No,
Did they ask how
like
you
they
were?
literally just kind of stopped where they were in the trail, did not take a single step towards me, and they like one person called the authorities, and the other person was just kind of like, yeah, they're coming.
It's just so wild because
Yeah.
if it was me, if it was my partner, we would be sitting right next to you, making sure. Like,
Right?
what were you thinking when this was happening? Like, not to get to that dark space,
I
but like
felt so defeated and sad, and like about that, specifically about how they treated me in that moment. I was like, damn, like I'm experiencing something extremely traumatic and you can't even step close to me. Like I know I probably was a bloody broken mess,
Yeah.
and I can't even imagine what I might have looked like, because I have no concept of that.
Yeah. Someone should have been with you though.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like I wish that somebody had the compassion to sit with me and hold my hand, and like I wouldn't even cared if they were holding my broken hand, you know, because all I needed was like comfort.
Yeah.
But they were just kind of like, yeah, they're coming, and it took 45 minutes ish
Wow.
for EMTs to get up the trail, and they ended up taking me in a truck and then in a helicopter to Albany Med.
Oh wow.
So I remember pretty much everything up until I was going into that first
Yeah.
emergency surgery.
The fear you probably were feeling.
Yeah.
You just not knowing what's going on, and
Yeah, I was honestly just very confused. Like it was just like everything was happening all at once. Adrenaline was pumping through my body, so I was like numb. I was numb because I was paralyzed, but also numb because I had like just overwhelming senses. For the first week, I was completely doped up on morphine and like heavy pain meds because obviously my entire body was fucking broken. And I didn't have any glasses, so I couldn't see because my glasses had broken in the fall. Ironically, my phone didn't break during the fall. Crazy. Um, but I remember just like my arm was like super duper bruised. I had bruises all over me, and I was very like just dazed. I had an external fixator in my right leg and a splint in my left. I had a splint on my oh actually I didn't have a splint at the time. It took them almost that full week to x-ray my arm because they were rolling me onto my broken arm. Mind you, they did not x-ray my arm at that hospital for like a good 5 days. I told them that I was in pain, and I had to fight with so many doctors during my journey. Like I'll get into it even more, but a huge part of them not really caring and kind of listening to me, and I do want to mention this, is someone someone called the hospital and explicitly told them kind of not to trust what I say because of my suicidality. Even though I was at that hospital to be treated for a traumatic injury, I was treated like a crazy person. And it was extremely difficult, and it did impact the care that I was given.
they basically said that what happened that day was on purpose, and yeah, and
Yeah, they wrote it in the chart. And I had a doctor come in
wow,
and say, "Must have been crazy jumping off that cliff, wasn't it?"
they
Yeah,
said that.
that was his introduction. Didn't even say his name first. Uh
Oh my gosh,
Baffles me to this
because
day.
like some of these
Yeah.
people are insane.
Yeah.
You can't be saying
That bedside manner was crazy.
even if
Like,
it's not true, even if it is true, like what if it was true?
what if it was true?
That would like be like
That would be fucking crazy to say to somebody. I do want to like not get into it about like differentiating whether or not it was on purpose, because I know like a lot of people are curious and they do ask me about it. But my whole dilemma with answering that question is how much I am an advocate against stigma, like mental health stigma. And it begs the question like, yeah, you can be curious, but what is the purpose of asking that question?
yeah.
You know, because what would my answer change about your perception of me? And to answer that question, it changes everything about how somebody treats you. I've been treated like a liar for not, admitting that what people think happened. Like I've been treated like a liar in my own care and my own recovery, to the point that I had a broken arm for 5 days before they x-rayed it. And I told them every day that it hurt, and they told me it was just a bruise and it looked like this. That when they finally listened to me and did an x-ray, it was severely broken. The doctor hung my two fingers from a string and he crushed my bones into place
Oh my gosh.
before putting the splint on.
I just Isn't it a thing that if you break something, like you could have lost that arm?
Oh, and then I had surgery a few days later
So you're
because
left
it was that severe.
like gangrene, is that the correct term, or something like that? Like
Yeah.
you break something and you don't get it treated, you could lose that arm because an infection grows and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So you could have lost your arm. You could have died due to that
That was
negligence.
not the only time that I wasn't listened to. I had swelling in my left leg that, and like once my legs started to, like my nerves started to reconnect, because within the first few weeks of that um, initial injury, at first they had me super doped up, so there was no like doing anything. I was just sleeping all day, every day, all night, every night. And there was one day, I want to say in maybe week 2 of my recovery, that I asked the doctor explicitly, is it possible that I will recover? Because that first week, I did not want to be alive. Like, I was like, this is the worst thing that could have possibly ever happened. And I have no, like, for like that week, I just didn't have any like concept of what a life would look like.
Yeah.
Like I just was in shock. But I asked the doctor if he thought there was any chance of me recovering. And his exact words were no. It would be a
Wow.
miracle if you ever recovered to a point of functionality. And I was devastated hearing that. But every single day, the doctors would come in and they would ask me to wiggle my toes just to see if it was possible for me to get any farther. And I would spend hours looking at my toes and wiggling them in my mind. And when you're paralyzed, especially newly paralyzed, you have phantom limbs. It's almost as if you can feel the sensation of your limbs moving, but they're just not moving. And so I would do that for hours. Every time I was awake, I would just like look at my toes and try to wiggle them. And in over time, I started to be able to wiggle it a little bit more. It was kind of funny. They would come in and be like, "Wiggle your toes for me," and I'd be like, like once I could wiggle my toes, then it was like, okay, let me try to tense my leg muscles. Let me try to wiggle my legs. Let me try to um and like I don't know how much TMI you would like to know, but I couldn't go to the bathroom either. I was completely incontinent. I couldn't even at first have the sensation, but then I started to actually have the sensation of needing to go to the bathroom but not being able to, and that was excruciating. Because imagine like the feeling of you having to pee really bad, but your pee's not gonna come out. Like you're just a balloon. They would just every day, doctors would come in and kind of ask me questions about what I could and couldn't do, could and couldn't feel. And I was very insistent upon physical therapy. Like as soon as I started to be able to wiggle my toes, that was it for me. I knew, I
Yeah.
was like, you motherfuckers, you are lying. I'm gonna recover. And I from then on, I was just kind of like, okay, like give me, like let me cook, you know. Um so actually once I transitioned to the second room, which was kind of like I think the ICU unit, where I was still pretty much under critical condition, still couldn't really move at all. But I could accept visitors. One of the most notable ones, my friend Nicholas. So I met him through my main, like my full-time job. And we were just starting out to be friends, and we were supposed to hang out the day after I
Oh
fell.
wow.
And these were like very new plans to us. And I obviously didn't text him for like a whole week. And then in this room, texting him this cryptic ass message about how I fell and broke all my bones and like sorry I couldn't hang out. And
My
and
bad.
and I love him for this. He goes, "If you didn't want to hang out, you could have just said that." And then he goes, "Oh my gosh, can I come visit you?" And from then on, Nicholas would come visit me a lot. And that's how we became a lot closer friends, because he visited me when I was in Albany, when I was in Amsterdam, when I was in Kingston. Like, he's the one who picked me up and brought me home from the rehab when I was done with my stay there. And so I want to give him a little shout out in this, because it meant a lot to me, because we weren't even really close friends before that. He was just like, oh, I'll come drive an hour to come visit you and take care of you and get you food, you know. I also had a friend, Carice, who would come visit me almost every day, because she lived in Albany. She would get me food from local places, and she would wash my face and braid my hair and keep me company and make me laugh, and it genuinely meant the absolute world to me. Another good friend, Roman, he would call me a lot, and he was there for me a ton during my recovery. And honestly, like, that's what I'm getting at here, is that there were so many people who showed up for me. And I think that, sorry, I'm getting emotional. What I'm getting at is that there were a lot of people who showed up. People who I didn't even really know. People who I maybe had one conversation with 10 years ago texted me. When I was in the ICU, when I finally, like, it took me a little while to even be cognizant enough to even look at my phone, let alone say anything to anybody. But I knew that there were a lot of people who I had just disappeared. Like, out of thin air, I disappeared. And I thought to myself, they deserve to know what happened. They deserve to know where I am right now, and know that I didn't just up and leave. So I posted on Facebook, like, hey, this happened. And I posted a picture of me in the hospital. And I was completely flooded with supportive messages, and people who came to visit me, people who gave me things to do. Like, this box right here was full of books for me to read that people had sent me, cards. People brought me snacks, hygiene products. They came just to visit for a while. I felt so beyond grateful every single time somebody walked in that room, because it helped the days go by faster. It helped the days go by easier, because I wasn't so alone.
Yeah.
And they had a psych sit for me, and I had to argue with them back and forth about that, because on one hand, I was like arguing with them about the fact that I hadn't done it on purpose, and then I was also being like, please keep the sitter, because I need somebody to keep me sane.
You want to explain
Like,
what psych sitting is?
Yeah.
I know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So a psych sit is just somebody who gets paid to sit with somebody who is experiencing either mental health issues, or just like, somebody who needs somebody to sit there in their hospital room with them. So I had a bunch of different psych sits, and I actually really enjoyed talking to them, just connecting with them as people. And it gave me a profound appreciation between them and the nurses, and like anybody who was taking care of me, because that was the first time in my life that I really had to relinquish all control and be taken care of. Before the fall, I was hyper independent and had the worst time asking for help. And I did not want to, like, I now had no choice but to let people help me.
Yeah, you had to get help.
Yeah.
You had no
So
choice.
that's very difficult for me.
Wow.
But I would just chat with these people, and it, like, I do want to mention there was one notable psych sit guy. He was a very quiet, reserved man, and he had been in my room a few times. And it was funny because, like I said, I had not actually done it on purpose, so I didn't actually need a sit. So when the sits would come into my room, they would just be like, I'm so glad to be in this room. Because I would be like, how's your day going? And then they would be coming from a room where somebody was screaming and throwing shit at them.
Yeah, you were a little bit of a breath of fresh air.
Yes. So I asked him, I was like, how are things going? And he was just like, better now that I'm in this room. And he was there for a while. I want to say 8 hours. And he was like on his phone watching YouTube videos. And I was just curious. I was like, oh, what are you watching? And he told me he was watching a video of his brother who had passed away, because his brother had done like a similar interview to what we're doing. And I asked him if he wanted to talk to me about his brother, and because I was like, I got nothing else to do. I got nothing but time to sit here
Wow.
and listen to you.
Yeah.
And he did. He talked to me about his brother and like the legacy that his brother left behind, and like it was such a powerful experience
Yeah.
because I had gone from a state of being where I really was dissociative and couldn't really connect with people anymore because I was just working and burning myself out, to having nothing but time to sit there and connect with people.
Yeah.
And
Powerful.
yeah, and I connected with a lot of people, patients, staff, people in my life, people who I wasn't close to, I'm extremely close to now. So I was in Albany Med for about a month before I got transferred to an acute rehab. I was very adamant about having physical therapy, and they didn't really send the physical therapist into me because they're super booked, and they also didn't really think I had a chance.
Yeah.
But I had one occupational therapist, Monica, who took a chance on me, and she was adamant to get in that room. And even like there was one nurse who I want to say, even on my last day of the hospital, I was like, oh, I'm too tired, I don't wanna. And that nurse came right back in and she was like, mm-mm, get up, do your occupational therapy, because you told me yesterday that you wanted to recover, right? And I was like, yeah. So I had gone from completely paralyzed in this 1 month to being able to wiggle this leg about that much. I was gaining motion in my arm, like, strength in my arms and stuff. But if I tried to sit up, it felt like I had just ran a fucking marathon.
Yeah.
Like me just being like this, I could not do at all. If I, like, at that point, I literally would have just gone and like
Wow.
flopped backwards because I had no strength left. But Monica sat there and she would like help me sit up on the edge of the bed and like try to kick my feet, and she was so patient with me when I felt like so scared that I couldn't do it, like it's such a scary feeling to be able to do things your whole life and then all of a sudden not be able to do any of it.
Yeah.
Not even be They told me that I would have to use a catheter for the rest of my life, and it terrified me. I was sitting there for days manifesting to pissing myself. Like, like I was like, please piss myself, please. And then my friends Kellen and Shelby came to visit me that day. As soon as they walked in, I pissed myself. I'm so embarrassed, but this is also genuinely a miracle. And
Yeah.
Kellen's an occupational therapist, so he was just like, yeah. But yeah, on the last day that I was in the hospital, the social worker came in and just abruptly was like, "Oh, you're leaving today. You're going to an acute rehab." And I was just like, okay. Like, I was terrified. I actually had a panic attack because I was so terrified. I'd finally adjusted to even being in the
Yeah.
hospital, and now I was moving to a different place that I didn't know.
Yeah. What was that like? The drive there and
Oh,
the
it was
arriving and what was
awful.
yeah.
So they actually strapped me down to a gurney, multiple straps, like a mummy, and they put me in a wheelchair van, and it was very, very bumpy ride. I couldn't see anything. It was a very painful ride because I was still at that level 10 of pain. I was scared. I was terrified, and I didn't know what it would be like. But when I got to the rehab, I just kind of cried it out.
This is my strong hand.
Can you describe your first day of physical therapy? What stands out most in your memory?
So, I mean, I did get a little bit of occupational therapy in the hospital, but when I transitioned to the acute rehab, I was supposed to do physical therapy and occupational therapy for 3 hours a day. and I was eager to do it. But I was also very, very early in my recovery, to the point where everything that I was doing didn't really feel like I was doing anything.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even sit on the edge of the bed and like go like kick it a little bit, you know? The acute rehab was way more about that occupational therapy stuff, like being able to take care of myself, go to the bathroom again, um, just be able to have like functionality at a baseline in my legs. I was still not even really in a wheelchair. Like, they did give me a wheelchair at some point, and I was zooming. I honestly, it was actually really fun to be in a wheelchair because I was zooming all around. Yeah, I started getting really close with the staff that was taking care of me. Like, they really made me feel valued and supported. It was kind of like old lady vibes, because when you're in acute rehab, or any physical rehab, the primary demographics of those rehabs are elderly people, because that's who's breaking small bones and needing that acute therapy. So I was just surrounded by older folks. And I would chat them up, and we would hang out, and I would mess with them sometimes because there's one man who hated my tattoos.
Aw.
And I would be like, well, he goes, why do pretty girls get tattoos? And I was just like, because they're pretty. And he was like, no, men don't like that. You're never going to get a man like that. And I was like, what if I want to marry a woman? And I was a menace. When I was so bored that I had nothing left to do than be a menace. Like, and you can ask the nurses, I was a fucking terror, but like in a fun way, like we were all joking around and having fun. And I think that I would like to think that I like lifted the mood.
Yeah.
I will say I did have a mental health therapist and a nurse at that rehab that were not very supportive and made things a lot worse sometimes, because they kind of were. I'm the type of person who pushes myself very hard. Mm-hmm. I'm the type of person who people have to remind me not to go 110%. People have to remind me to rest. And these two individuals were kind of like, oh, you need to try harder. You need to try harder. And I'm like, I'm trying so hard that I'm making a genuinely miraculous recovery.
Yeah,
like
it's so weird. It's just like, you need to try harder. I am like
I was trying my absolute hardest.
Yeah, your body is like against you at the moment. Like
right.
you're fighting your body so you could perform miracles.
Yeah.
Like, have a little more compassion. Like,
yeah, it was difficult, because something that is worth mentioning is the fact that health insurance is a huge, like, insurance almost matters more than the actual health professionals themselves. Like, the health professionals could want to help you and not have any ability to, unless you are able to pay, which is ridiculous in this country.
Yeah, yep.
Like, we definitely need universal health care 1000%. So they were like, we need to make sure that you're making a significant enough amount of progress here to even keep you in the rehab and justify it to insurance.
Oh, wow.
So I was under a lot of pressure, not only for myself, because people were at that point already being like, oh, you need to move out of your apartment, you need to sell your car, you need to basically uproot your entire life to settle into a wheelchair, because that's what insurance was wanting me to do. Yeah. They wanted me to stop at wheelchair level, and I was unwilling to do that. I was extremely stubborn about it.
You were determined.
Yes. From the moment I entered that rehab, my goal was to leave rehab walking again. And you know what? I accomplished my goal. I told them from day one that I would be walking out of there. And obviously, like, that sounds kind of fucking delusional. If you like that, if you are one of the nurses or anybody talking to me during that time period, you probably thought I was completely fucking delusional.
You're the main character. You are. No, you're like, I'm gonna do it.
I literally like paralyzed. Like, how does one think that they're gonna walk in 3 months from that after being told it would be a miracle? But I was like very adamant about it. And I did have a lot of downtime.
You're so inspiring. You really are. I just want to pause. Like, the fact that and I just got a tour of her apartment. She's doing great things for herself, so I'm very proud of you. Like it.
I mean, I think that's something I really want to emphasize is this is, and I'm so grateful to you giving me this chance to really tell my story in a way that exemplifies the things that are important to me. Because when I'm on the street and people are asking me questions, and they always do, and I don't mind answering them, because I think that disability awareness is very important. I think mental health awareness is very important, but I want to emphasize the fact that when people look at me now, when people see me living the life that I am, at the functionality that I'm at, they do not realize how difficult, strenuous, how resilient I have had to be. Everything that I went through, I am genuinely baffled by at this point. Like, I'll be going to the bathroom and I'm like, damn, like, I spent months not being able to go to the bathroom by myself. I spent months not being able to get out of bed, not even being able to sit up, you know? Like, fuck getting up and down the stairs. I couldn't even sit up, you know? Like, and it took a lot. It took a lot of just like kicking my feet. And once I started to kick my feet, oh my god, I was having so much fun. I would sit on the edge of the bed just so I had to completely rebuild my life from scratch again. In an odd way, my recovery allowed me to look at my life from the outside and be like, how do I even want it to look anymore? Like I said, I was hyper independent before, so I felt completely pathetic now. But I just kept going back and forth. There were days where I would cry it out for hours and have no hope and think that I was, gonna have to settle. And then I would be like, nah, fuck that. The next day I would wake up and be like, all right, when is physical therapy coming? It's hard because I think people look at me now and they think that I just maybe, broke a leg or something. I broke my entire body, my ribs, my spine, my legs, my arm, like
nothing short of a miracle. Like,
yeah.
Really.
So this was given to me on the last day of that rehab, which I made good on my promise to walk out of there. In a short 3 months, I went from, barely functioning to walking at a walker level with 2 boots. So I had graduated to 2 boots for broken legs, and I was at a walker level, so like a little granny walker. And we did this little like goodbye ceremony. I woke up that morning and they were kind of rushing around, and I was like, what's going on here? Like, I was really sad to leave. I was really scared to leave, but they decorated the whole hallway with balloons for me, got donuts for everybody, and they gave me this and this little trophy.
Aww.
And it's like a little award for my accomplishment that says success. And we took a video of me walking down the hallway for the last time. But at some point when I was at that rehab, I got a couple of calls from people who were like, where have you been? Because you're usually at all of these places and I haven't seen your face. And I was just like, well, this is what happened. And I got a package one day from Matthew Cushman, fellow poet and very good friend of mine. And it had a book and it had a card in it signed by, I'm pretty sure you. I mean, I won't dig through this now.
I do remember.
I won't dig through this now, but I can find the card later. But I was sent a card signed by a bunch of fellow poets and creatives from the Tram and the open mic nights. And it was like, we miss your poetry. We miss your presence. Like, you are so valued in this space. And the entire time I was performing before the fall, I literally would leave thinking that nobody gave a fuck. Like that, like I would leave thinking that I was not involved in any of the cliques enough to like be friendly with people. Like I just kind of kept to myself and like had my own little clique with like Raven and David. That was such a significant moment for me because it showed me that I was genuinely valued and that I was fulfilling a goal of mine to be a performer, be a writer, be a poet. I hadn't even given myself any of that credit. And to receive that, to receive love and support from strangers, people who I would consider to be strangers and now friends, that is what kept me going. Like all of the support that I received throughout the entire journey is what kept me going. Because on the days that I couldn't keep myself going out of sheer willpower, that's what did. The people just wanting me home, people wanting my presence, people caring that I was even alive. Like something that really started to change my perspective from like being self-defeating to more motivated over time was the fact that I would meet new strangers and like tell them what happened because they asked, and their initial response would be, "Wow, it's incredible that you're even alive. It must be for a reason." And the "it must be for a reason" really stuck with me every single time. So I started to be like, yeah, let me manifest these reasons. Let me look at my life and create a better life for myself than I had before. And that's when I started working on my books. I started writing more. I started compiling my poetry into actual collections, and I finished two full collections while I was in rehab. um, I started learning sign language. I actually got two certifications in peer specialist services.
Oh,
Oh, I
yeah.
also received cards from the students I had substitute taught
Oh,
for.
that's cool. Oh, that's
So like
cool.
this box is full of stuff throughout my recovery, like all of these cards. I had people making me friendship bracelets, more cards, and I had all of these cards kind of like by my window.
Oh, I
Um
love that, the band-aids.
yeah, actually, can I share a poem?
Yeah.
So, I'm going to share a poem called Get Well. And I wrote this one day when I was just kind of looking out my window and appreciating the fact that I had so much support and kind of feeling content, but also motivated and loved. I keep vases of dying flowers in the window. Their beauty remains, although they're not thriving anymore. The thoughts behind them still lingering as the petals fall to the floor. I keep deflated balloons simply because their message of get well soon reminds me that I have to. I keep cards I cannot reach staring back at me, love inscribed in them, my name written in many fonts, well wishes cradle me late at night, whispering your presence is what they want. And
Woo! That
thank
was
you.
beautiful. You could picture it. It's
Yeah,
quite wild that you're still here, and that
yeah.
you got well.
I
you
know.
you got
I
well.
I did. And I did it for a lot of reasons. I did it for myself and I did it for all of those people who cared about me. And I did it because I was reminded countless times, and I'm still reminded every day, that I'm here for a reason. I could have died. I should have died. Like, I was a
Yeah.
mangled mess, and I didn't. And my therapist had even said like they had very rarely seen a recovery like mine, and very rarely seen people who were as motivated as me to recover.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember saying, like, when you were showing me the tour and stuff, I was saying, like, this apartment's huge, and you shouldn't have made it. Like, and it's just so wild to say it like that because I'm glad you made it. Everyone is so glad you made it, but it's just like you almost didn't have this.
yeah,
I'm getting choked up a little bit myself. It's quite profound, honestly, that you're still here, and I'm so glad you
yeah.
are because like I'm always moved by everything you say. So
Thank
thank you
you.
for fighting for yourself, and thank you for fighting for
Thank
the
you.
people who care about you.
I
Ah.
I think in an odd way, and I think about this a lot. As much as it was a horrible experience, as much as it has completely changed the course of my life in a lot of ways, I would not have met so many amazing people, and people who that have impacted my life and lives that I've impacted. I would That would never have happened, if didn't go there that day.
Yeah.
There are times where I get really upset with myself. I'm like, oh, I should have never gone. I should have never left the house that day. I should have never did this. And then I'm like, okay, but then I wouldn't know Heather or Myrna, and I wouldn't know all of the lessons that I have now. Like, I've learned so many important lessons. I've gained so much respect for the people in the healthcare professions, so much more understanding for them. I feel like I have gained the ability to appreciate my wins, my little wins, each step, and to really focus on the steps of getting somewhere instead of the result. I've learned how to be even more resilient than I ever thought I could be.
Question I have you been to the spot?
Oh, yeah, I have a picture of it. I have a picture of me being
Like, since then?
yeah.
Wow.
I went back, actually. I want to say around the anniversary of it.
Like the 1
The
year
1 year
anniversary.
anniversary, yeah. And I went with my partner at the time to kind of commemorate all that hard work.
Yeah.
And we took a couple pictures at the spot.
Imagine if we did the interview there. That would be
I know.
That'd be a different level of psychotic.
I know. I learned to really sit in that silence and appreciate life and really take inventory of my time and my energy, because now, as a chronically ill and like physically impaired person, I have to do that. Before, I worked myself to the bone, to almost to near death, and now I can't even do that. Now I can't even do a little too much for an hour, and before I'm down for the count. So I'm almost grateful for that, because it helps me be more balanced, and it helps me allow others to take care of me. Like, it sucks. I'm not glad that I'm disabled, but I'm glad that what happened to me has led me to live a more mindful life, a life full of more advocacy. My entire recovery shaped me into an even stronger advocate than I ever had been. Even at some point in the second rehab that I was in, because there were some not so good things happening there. A lot of policy violations, a lot of inhumane treatment. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of fucking amazing people there. That rehab, definitely, I owe a lot of my recovery to. My therapist there, fucking amazing. I love Lucas. Like, I would be like, can I do it this way because it's easier for me? And he'd go, no, but thanks for asking. But I also had a lot of heart to hearts with him, because he saw the genuine potential within me. He saw the drive within me. He saw how much I genuinely wanted to get better, and he was like, I'm gonna make this happen with you. And I walk without my crutch now. Like, he's the one who got me to a crutch level. Like, I attribute a lot of my recovery to my work with Lucas. But, like, obviously, like, my drive, my resilience, and he constantly reminded me of that, because I would try to give him credit for being a good therapist, and he would just be like, no, this is you. Like, you're the one doing this. You're the one showing up. There was a point in time where at that rehab, you can go on little day excursions. You just have to have like a pass and like somebody safe to go with. And people started to come visit me and take me out. Like Nicholas and my family, they took me out for my birthday. My sister took me shopping. After Myrna left the rehab, she actually took me out, and we had a nice little blunt in her car. Imagine me and an 8-year-old woman, and sitting in her car at like a little beach, and she's just like, I rolled us a blunt.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm dropping a lot of names of random people, but they deserve the shout outs because I
Yeah.
love them. Yeah, so I was at the second rehab from about September to April of the next year. So it was just a lot that happened during that time period. I feel like I had a lot of time to sit with myself and really think about a lot of things I hadn't really dealt with before. And I had to deal with a lot of grief of realizing that there was no going back. There was no going back to how things were. I mean, I was trying to get to that point. I was like very adamant that I would get to that point. And I think in my head, I had this like perfect idea of where I would be, that I had to grieve because that's not where I am or where I might ever be. I do still think that I have a chance at a fuller recovery because I'm still actively improving. It's been 3 years, which is like, the most important window of time, but you can recover, you can continue to recover for a long time. And I think that's something I would like people to know, how much time recovery actually takes, how much consistent effort, how much patience, how much acceptance, and how much grieving it takes to realize that what you thought you wanted, what you thought you were capable of, might not be what you need or what the reality of your situation grants you. And I knew that I was not going to settle at a wheelchair level or even a walker level. And I felt really insecure at a walker level because as a young woman, like seeing primarily people, I had never really been exposed to disability in that way before then. So when I think of a walker, I thought of an old lady, and I didn't want to be out in public hobbling around and being in people's way and stuff. And Lucas, my therapist, had a heart to heart with me about that because someone wanted to take me out to dinner. And he said, I'm not allowing you to go unless you go in your walker. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that because I feel really awkward and embarrassed. And he was like, how are other people, like, you're an advocate, you're very stubborn, you're very strong. How else would you change that stigma by being, other than being an example? Like, and
Very
that,
valid.
yeah, like he was like, you have to be the example. Those were such important lessons for me to learn, and I'm so grateful that they were instilled into me by people who had genuine compassion and understanding for me and like really cared about the fact that I wanted to recover. Like I said, I used to work 4 jobs. Now I've been unemployed for months. And when I got back and I tried to throw myself into employment, I burnt myself out extremely quickly, and I was discriminated against. I was discriminated against at multiple jobs, healthcare jobs, which is crazy to me. They basically treated me like I should either be able bodied enough to work without accommodations, and if I did need accommodations, then I was too disabled to work. There was no leeway. Like there was no genuine support. And that's something that I've had to grapple with as a newly disabled person, someone who wants to work, who is motivated, who wants to be busy, having to grapple with the fact that I could wake up and barely be able to get out of bed some days. Like yesterday, we were supposed to do this, and I ended up puking all over the place and falling. So that I called it a wrap on that day and said, let's have a better day tomorrow. But sitting with the fact that each step, each moment, just getting through each moment is enough, that you are enough to be loved, for your life to have value, whether you feel useful to somebody or not. I feel like in the disability community, we know what it's like to be treated as if we are less than human if we're not useful to society.
Yeah.
And there was one time that my legs were genuinely tired from physical therapy, and I asked for some water, and I was told, this is a rehab, not a hotel, get it yourself. Mind you,
Wow.
I'm at a walker level. My legs are tired. If I did that, I would fall. And I was treated like I was just being lazy and that I should,
Not okay.
push myself further because, to the point of injury so that they didn't have to do their jobs.
Yeah, not cool. Not
Yeah.
Cool. Ugh.
And yeah,
You're
sorry.
It's good.
But I do want people to know that if you have a disabled person in your life, respect them for who they are as a person. Ask them what they need. Ask them what they're capable of. Ask them how you can help. Don't assume and don't infantilize them. And another huge part of my journey And my journey in life in general is manifesting. And here, right here, I've kind of laid out an array of my periodic manifesting. This is how I got through my recovery. This is how I put that dream of mine into reality and into perspective for myself. 12, 13, 23. My short term goals were to improve my walking stride and endurance, improve my balance, be able to get off of the floor, be able to take a step without my walker. So at this point, I couldn't even take one step without my walker. So 7, 9, 23.
It's like 2 months after, right? About.
Yeah. I am healthy. I'm healing. I'm strong. I'm physically fit. I am beautiful. I am loved. I am powerful. I feel motivated. I feel hopeful. I have an abundant future. I speak abundance into my life. I speak forgiveness onto those who hurt me, which was a huge journey that I had to go through too, because I lost a few people in my life through this experience. People who resent me for what happened, people who have treated me like a liar, people who have treated me like I have slighted them by being an inconvenience or a burden on their life now that I'm disabled. And it took a lot of healing. It took a lot of, in fact, there was one day that I sat down and I said, I'm going to write down everything that I've been struggling with and everything that feels real to me. And I wrote self-limiting beliefs to release and things that feel authentic to me. So I wrote, this person makes me feel like I'm stupid, reckless, and immature. This person makes me feel like I didn't matter. This person feels like I wasn't pretty. And I had to kind of write out those affirmations, things to let go, things to create. I let go of the need to prove myself. I let go of my attention to things I cannot control. I let go of my attachment to the past. I let go of my obsession with what's next to embrace what I have now. And yeah, so sorry.
Sorry for what?
I'm just kind of getting a little emotional.
You're allowed.
I see myself walking freely and with ease. I see myself sleeping comfortably because you have no idea what it's like to have to lay flat for months. Just lay flat and not be able to lay on your side, not even be able to move enough to lay on my side. Like, it was so difficult to even get comfortable. And now I can, roll around in bed and do whatever. So I did accomplish that goal, actually. I will be able to walk without my crutch.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. I will be able to dance and play sports again. And you know where I'm going? To a sports birthday party tomorrow. In November of last year, I wrote what I wanted in a home. I bought my first house, and it does fit these things, So that's how I keep myself on track with my goals. I am formally diagnosed with complex PTSD, depression, anxiety, and ADHD. And I feel that I've grown a significant amount to be at a point of stability. I've actually not been suicidal since right after the fall.
You almost caught, it's like you caught a glimpse of it in a way.
Yeah. I will say, a part of me had already changed my mind, but when I was on the ground, I was like, if this is how it's going to happen, then I guess it's meant to happen, kind of thing. And it didn't happen. I actually made a semi-full recovery and have been through so many experiences, so many wonderful and terrible experiences since then, that I wouldn't change it for the world. If I could go back that day and not do it, I don't think I would stop myself, because of the genuine valuable lessons, the valuable people in my life, the ability to reroute my entire life. I would have been just continuing to work myself to death. I was able to put things into perspective in a way that I had never been able to before. I think something that I would want people to know about me is that I've always been resilient. I've always been resilient even before. Like I honestly feel like I've gained so much from what I've gone through. Honestly, that time to sit with myself in that rehab, in those rehabs for that long, allowed me the time to actually sit with all of those things that I was experiencing before. You know, it allowed me to write more, to
Sometimes you have to sit with the grief and sit with the
yeah,
sadness and not like what I used to do is like, no, can't think about it, can't think about it. But like
yeah. I had
that's
nothing but
postponing
time to
it.
think about it.
Yeah.
I couldn't escape thinking about it. So I healed a lot of my previous trauma. I healed through that experience, and I feel like I have continued to heal and grow as a person and find more balance and love and drive and motivation and passion in my life. I finally got published. I made so many new friends.
You're doing this.
Yeah,
You
I'm
do.
doing this, and like, and I don't mean to, like, I don't mean to toot my own horn. I don't mean to make it sound like I'm, like, I know. Okay,
No one watching this thinks that. You're allowed to say, "Hey, I almost died and now my life is significantly improved since the fall."
yeah,
Like you're allowed to say, "I rebuilt my life
yeah.
literally brick by brick."
After receiving all of these cards and all of the support and keeping in contact with people and getting visitors, like, I realized at a point in my recovery that no matter when or how, I was coming back to a community. I was coming back to people who cared about me. I was coming back knowing finally for the first time in my life that I was truly loved and valued in ways that I never felt I was able to be grounded in before.
What advice would you give to someone who is at the very beginning of a long recovery feeling overwhelmed by the road ahead?
Mindset is the most important thing, because in my context, you will struggle and have days where everything is too much and have days where you feel on top of the world. But what's most important is to continue to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. And in those moments when you do want to give up, just know that it's enough to not give up. Know that it's enough to not just die, you know? Because at that point, I definitely could have given up when they told me I wouldn't walk again. I could have easily been like, you know what? All right, you're right. Let me give up, you know? But it was my mindset. It was the genuine belief that no, against all odds, that I would make it, that I would do what I could, that I had the faith in myself. I didn't have faith in other people. I didn't have faith in the journey. I didn't even know where I would be next. I didn't know where I would even what I would even eat next. But one thing for sure, I knew myself well enough that I wasn't going to give up.
Yeah.
Your only options are to move forward or to stay stagnant. Those are your two options. I would say choose growth and remind yourself of the whys. Practice manifesting in whatever way that works for you, whether that means praying or doing what I've done.
What do you hope people take away from your story?
I hope they take away the fact that you can lose everything over and over and over again. And every single time you can think it's the worst time and you can still recover from it. Every single time you could think, oh, this is worse. I literally hit rock bottom. And
Stop it.
I literally and figuratively hit rock bottom, lost everything, lost my ability to function, lost my housing, my car, my friends. I lost everything I thought I knew. I lost my sense of self, and I still have come back from it even stronger and even more loved and more opportunities and more appreciation for it. The appreciation for what you have and where you're going is one of the most important things, because that gratitude is what reminds you that there's things left to live for. I will say life does have a way of changing constantly and you needing to adapt constantly, and it's not any less scary, it's not any less frustrating, it's not any less difficult. And the acknowledgement that it is still difficult but you still have to do it is a huge part of that mindset.
Damn.
Sorry.
That was good. Mic drop. I don't know. Let's see you walk. Strut that stuff. Oh, yeah. Doing the things that they said you couldn't do. That's what's up. These have been Stories Told with Care. Until next time, thanks for watching.